Hello, this is Jeff Neville for Selective Imagery. If you'd like to skip ahead and go past my introductory slideshow, it kind of shows you folks what I like to take pictures of. Jump ahead to about the 1 minute and 45-second mark, and that should get you close to where we start the real deal here with the video. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Welcome to Selective Imagery. Welcome to the Nikon Z9 with the 800 PF video. We're going to start off with an experiment shooting 4K 120 in DX mode on the 800 PF for a focal length equivalent of 1840 millimeters, which is insane. The camera is mounted on an Acrotech ball head, which is attached to a heavy Manfrotto carbon fiber tripod. Now, I did not put any extra weight on the tripod, which I guess I wish I did. It was a windy day, so the video is a bit shaky. And at this focal length, I guess I didn't know what I was expecting to get, but I'll share it with you. And I think on a calm day with a little weight on the tripod, you could actually get away with shooting at this focal length equivalent. Enjoy. So here it is early morning, and we're shooting, like I said, at 1840 millimeters of these two eagles. You can see the nest on the right, and you got one adult on the branch next to the nest, and you got the other one on another branch off the same tree. And there's no heat distortion issues at this early morning hour. And this is with the lens hood on the 800 PF. So the lens hood is not generating any heat distortion on its own because it's just not warm enough outside yet. This would change if it was a really hot day or I was trying to film this a couple hours later. I mean, this is probably around 7 a.m. in the morning would be my guess, somewhere in that range, 7:30. Now it's a little jittery, and considering how, the wind, there was some wind gusts that day, and we were kind of on a somewhat rickety walkway. So I'm not too disappointed in it. If I had added some weight on the tripod, it probably would have been better. But this was an experiment, and I don't mind sharing experiments. That's how we all learn. From each other. Now finally, one of the adults flies over to the nest. Now it's very, very hard to see if there is a young one in the nest. Now, normally they lay 1 to 3 eggs, typically around December, but the range is actually November through March, and the incubation period is 5 weeks. And after the young have gone through the fledging process, they're going to remain in the area getting fed by the adults for at least another month while they learn how to, get food for themselves. The nests are typically 4 to 6 feet in diameter, very impressive, very large branches in there, and they typically like to be within a half to 3/4 of a mile away from the water, no more than that. And if one adult for some reason were to pass on, the other one would stay in the area and try to recruit a new mate. And they will, year after year, come back to the same nesting area. So, overall, I mean, it's not horrible. This was, 4K 120, and I slowed it down, or the jitter would be a little bit more pronounced. Like I said, there was some things I could have done to make it a little bit steadier, but this was an experiment, like I said. It's nice to see the eagles in the nest this year. I mean, we had a storm, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, and the nest got wiped out and they had to rebuild it from scratch, which they did. I'll tell you another bird that I think actually builds nests that are, I guess if you want to use the term, prettier and quite large, is the ospreys. But the ospreys don't nest in this area at all. They nest along the Waccamaw River. So this is it for this video clip, and now we'll look at some still photos. Here are a few shots of some friends that are finally active now that the weather's warming up, followed by a few videos. I've only seen the one large gator so far that you see in this video clip, guessing around 9 to 10 feet long. The park, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess depending on your opinion, has culled most of the large gators out of the park over the years. I mean, there are a lot of people that walk across the causeway, and the gators do go from the pond side to the marsh side, and maybe they're just afraid somebody's going to get hurt. Unfortunately, I think it's more that there's too many foolish people out there, which many of us have seen, that photograph the park, where you see young children throw rocks at the alligators that are laying on the grass, literally maybe 6 feet away from the sidewalk, because they don't think the gators are alive. And then the parents come out with a statement when you say something, well, the sign doesn't say we can't throw rocks at the alligators. Guess we know why they got to call them, right? Here's a photo of one on another area of the park, followed by another video of the same gator. Like I said, I'm guessing 10 feet, somewhere in that area. We used to have some that were 12, at least 12, maybe even a little bit bigger. Of course, the gator sizes in South Carolina are not anywhere near as big as the one in Florida, because in Florida, I mean, they're feeding year-round, where here, when the temperature gets cold, they basically go into, well, for all intensive purposes, a hibernative state. Well, this one's got a good set of teeth, has a good dentist. Now from this video, we're going to move on to a series of still images. Great blue heron, followed by a wood stork that's in the reeds looking for some food. Very persistent. Then there was a great egret by itself on the branch of a live oak. Black-crowned night heron in a different part of the park. And a bluebird resting at the top of a branch. And a few shots of some snowy egrets. This one looks like he's almost riding the back of the other one. This one's enjoying the early morning light. And this one's kind of like in the background looking like, oh, that is a gator in front of me. The red-winged blackbirds are always fun to watch and photograph. Another great egret shot. And a headshot of a great blue heron, followed by another headshot. But this is where you can see the detail on that 800 PF lens. The gator in a different pond area, and an anhinga looking out towards the water. Now here's a few shots of a baby great horned owl in Brookgreen Gardens, followed by the adult great horned owl. A few shots of him or her, and a quick video clip will be coming up as well. What a beautiful bird, beautiful, beautiful bird. And here's the video clip. You can tell it's a windy day once again. And here I'm zooming in a little bit. I'm shooting 4K 30. So at 4K 30 you can use the program and activate the zoom function excuse me, between your function 1 and function 2 buttons on your camera, and zoom in and out. But it only works at 4K 30 or slower. Will not work at 4K 60. Didn't want to open its eyes, unfortunately. Now it's actually in a tree that's probably 30 yards at least or more away from the youngster. So I think that's a little dangerous. I mean, there are red-tailed hawks in the park that could easily take out, you know, a baby great horned owl. So I'm kind of surprised that the adult would leave the baby by itself. Now we only see one youngster. I mean, unfortunately, many a times, you know, in nature, you know, one young gets fed more than the other, fights for the food harder than the other one, and if there was a second or third youngling, sometimes they just either starve to death or get thrown. Sometimes they get thrown out of the nest by the one that's stronger. So many a time you only end up with one that survives, and that's just the way nature is. But it was really neat to see the adult. You had to go looking for it though. Was not, like I said, was not in the nest with the young. Now in a minute here or so, we're going to be looking at a few still images of an eastern screech owl, which is the first time I've ever seen one. And I'm going to talk about it ahead of time before we get to the few pictures that I have of it here. It's upcoming, but the eastern screech owl is only 8 to 10 inches tall with a 2-foot wingspan. And you have two variations. You have one that's gray, which is gray and white, and you have another version that's red, which is rust and white. And luckily this one was the rust and white, which I think is much prettier. And if it was the gray and white version, it'd probably be pretty doggone hard to find it. But beautiful bird, very, very small. I was surprised how small it was. So that's it for the videos. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you give me a thumbs up. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and feel free to leave a comment. I always appreciate it when I hear from people, and hopefully you got some good information. And as I say, enjoy life, capture some of it, get out there and shoot no matter what your subject matter. Take care. Have a good one.